Okay, what's up, everybody? Yet again, here I am again. Another episode of Entrepreneurship and Diaspora. This time I had to mix it up. I'm back in Austin, back on campus. You may not be able to tell, but I'm by the Union, and I'm here with Ayomide, a star in the making. Let me repeat that, a star in the making. This man is doing everything on campus. And so, yeah, I noticed that, and I just wanted to have a conversation with him. And so first, could you introduce yourself and state the diasporas that you identify with?
Of course, yes, for sure. Thanks for having me, Anthony, again. So, like you said, my name's Ayomide, and I'm a current second year electrical computer engineering and business honors student here at UT Austin. And as for what diaspora I identify with, my parents are Nigerian, and they were born and raised in Nigeria and immigrated here, first to Canada, where I was born, and then I moved to the Houston area, where my family currently resides in. So how I really identify my diaspora is through my church because back at home I go to an African church that's actually 45 minutes away from my home, and that's really how I stay in touch with my African culture and Nigerian culture.
Yeah. So for those of you who have seen previous episodes, that actually reminds me of my friend Eloa, who I went to high school with. He actually stated in his interview that he identifies with his culture from the church that he goes to in Fort Worth,
Oh, really?
with other East Africans. So that it's interesting how there's a commonality there. But I was wondering, how are you involved in entrepreneurship or startups on campus? Could you speak a little bit about that?
So yeah, really my main connection to entrepreneurship and startups on campus comes through the organizations I'm involved in. Like for instance, the main org I'm involved in on campus is the Social Entrepreneurship Learning Lab called CEL. And essentially it runs through a fellowship model where fellows both learn about how they can take a social issue they're passionate about and then essentially research on that issue and come up with a solution to that issue and validate their solution and their market. So I went through sales, ideator, and incubator all of last year, freshman year, and the issue that I focused on was actually related to the African diaspora.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it was related to how can we improve the mental health of African immigrant teenagers. So the solution I came up with was using religious family therapy because for West African cultures, I view religion as a huge value and influence on West African parents in order to break down cultural barriers and have them speak with their children on any issues or healthcare mental issues that they're experiencing.
Interesting, interesting. I actually didn't know that. I've heard of Cell before, and for those of you who are interested in entrepreneurship and have not tried out Cell, I highly, highly recommend it. I've had several friends who have participated in Cell, and they all loved it, really.
I agree. Yes. In fact, right now I'm actually on Cell's officer board for
Okay.
the accelerator. And in the accelerator, it's pretty much the next step in the fellowship where we have fellows who are building out their company and we help them scale up their company and products.
Okay. Now, where does Cell meet on campus typically?
So yeah, so typically Cell actually we're right across from the FAC, and that's one big important place that Cell meets on campus in the Blackstone Launchpad. That's one center for entrepreneurship on campus. And typically there are other places on campus such as in McCombs, but typically you find Cell on the FAC.
Okay, that's cool. And so, is entrepreneurship something you've always been interested in, or was there ever like a light bulb moment where you're like, oh, this is something I can do, this is something I'm interested in, and I want to pursue?
So yeah, so for me, I would say that entrepreneurship was really more of a light bulb moment.
Okay.
Like in high school, in fact, and this really still holds true today. But I'm a very technical person.
Okay.
So in high school, I was very STEM oriented, but I wasn't very entrepreneurially focused. And that light bulb moment was really, like I said, through Cell, and really discovering more about myself and my passions, and finding out that I'm not just passionate about mental health, but I'm passionate about people, specifically our African diaspora people.
Okay. And I'm just kind of wondering, what is your sorry for those of you who maybe listen to this later. There's a little bit of noise, but what is your long-term vision or your goal in terms of things you want to accomplish, whether that's technical, like a product related, or specific geography? Like, I can give an example for myself. Um, I see myself as operating in the aerospace industry. but like not attached to a specific domain within aerospace, like not just civil aviation or like high altitude platforms or satellites or rockets, but just kind of like a little bit of everything, but definitely in aerospace. And then I would love to work in West Africa and Panama and like Central and South America. So
Okay.
like those are the geographies that I'm focusing. But what about you?
So yeah, for sure. So for me, in the short term, I really see myself operating more in the technical space and in the technology space, specifically in product management and shaping product strategy. And in addition, I say in the long term, I'm focused on impact investing. Have you heard of impact investing?
Yes, but just a little bit. Why don't you speak about it?
So yeah, so for sure. So also in relation to another organization or to another org I'm involved in on campus, impact investing is investing that's focused on rather on returns for that are more financial. We're more focused on societal returns and social impact and how can we maximize those while ensuring that ventures that come for impact and for funds are sustainable.
Okay. And now I know that after his freshman year, he interned at Google.
Yes.
So has that kind of, what was that experience like, and what are some things that you've drawn from that experience, and that you've brought to your sophomore year here at UT, whether that's in classes or, I mean, if you can speak about like what you've brought in terms of entrepreneurship, I mean that would be good.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So at Google, I interned at Google for their STEP internship program, and that's pretty much a software engineering internship for freshmen and sophomore students. So for those who don't know and are listening to this podcast, their apps are actually open right now. So be sure to apply and shoot your shot. But really, I did that. I did that during the summer remotely back at home in Houston, and I interned on their API client tools team on the Google Cloud. So in terms of what I brought from that experience, I'll say that it really brought more of a focus on how I could use my technical skills, even in the long term on a venture. In fact, and in addition, I would say I've really learned more and had more takeaways through it through more organizations I'm involved in. Like I'm also involved in a product organization, TPO, Texas Product Engineering.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just joined. Like literally last week, I had my first social there, and what I'm working on for that organization is I'm working in their product fellowship to both learn about product management and learn more about it. Since, like I mentioned, it's something I want to do more in the long term. But I'm also going to be working on a project, and creating a software project in that role for a local stakeholder.
Okay, and then just to kind of wrap up, I know I didn't ask you, like we didn't prep for this last question, but if there's something you would like to, is there something you would like to say to students that are interested in entrepreneurship and also identify with a diaspora, whether that's, a diaspora in Latin America or in Sub-Saharan Africa? Is there something like you would like to tell them, or even, South Asia, like anywhere in the world, if there's something, you would like to tell those students or young adults, young professionals, what would that be?
So what I would say to students have a diaspora identity is really, if you're interested in entrepreneurship as a student, this is your best time to get involved, because even stakeholders and there's really more stakeholders and more resources available to you on campus. And I would say, in fact, it's really some of those resources available to you are communities. It's really all about your connections and the communities you form, not just with finding like-minded other diaspora individuals, but even individuals who don't identify with your diaspora, because their interest and their skills will still continue to add on to your skills.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I think that's a good place to leave it. That was a good last word. So thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony.
Yeah, and I just hope this is a good, just like a good, topic or a good video for younger students or just students in general to think about if they are interested in entrepreneurship, especially on UT's campus, because Ayomide laid out several resources that are accessible to all of you. So thank you again for listening to another episode or watching another episode of Entrepreneurship and Diaspora. Thank you.